for Friday, October 9th, 2020. This is the Pro and Con Show, and I am your host, Michael James Ott, and as always, welcome to the show. So the show is all about trying to encourage us to be better citizens. I'm seeking, I think the vast majority of Americans are seeking better governance, and we need to get involved. So there's a series of shows that I've done, and all the way through November 3rd, 2020, the election day, I committed to do them, and by God, I'm doing them. And step by step, I'm hoping that I have some positive influence on someone today or sometime in the future. And today's show is the second installment of a series here where I talk about the 28th Amendment, or the proposed 28th Amendment, and this whole Citizen Statesman initiative. So in the last show, I talked about kind of an overview on how it worked and why we were proposing this, and so it's myself, and with the input of dozens of people that I've met and talked to over time, and then but I've never actually gone through like the various phases of the election sequence in any detail to kind of flesh them out so people would understand it better. But so let me just hit on the different sections here. So, and also, forgive me, I'm going to read just a little bit of the amendment, and then I'm going to talk about the first phase of the candidacy. So every election year, this kind of process would go on. So kind of flesh out, again, kind of my vision, or what I think, based on the conversations that I've had, people would think is a good idea. Okay, so the intent of the amendment. We the people believe that government should act in the best interest of the people it serves. We the people believe that our fellow citizens, whether elected or appointed to government office, must serve the interests of the people of this nation, and when there is a conflict in interest, must serve the people holistically over the government officials' own interests or the specialized interests of coalitions, groups, political parties, or industry. Okay, the next section is terms of office. The president and vice president shall normally serve a single term of 3 years. The president or vice president shall not serve more than 3 years. Senators shall normally serve a single term of 6 years. Senators shall not serve more than 9 years. Representatives to the House shall normally serve 3 years. Representatives shall not serve more than 4 years. In each applicable election year, the president, the seats of half the Senate, and all the House shall be elected. And in the last 6 months of each previously elected official's term, the incumbent elected official or the staff of each incumbent elected official, as directed by the official, shall prepare detailed summaries of the final 6 months of service to prepare for a transfer of knowledge and capability to help sustain continuity of principles and governance. So this is the very beginning. Okay, so how would this work? Well, there has to be this centralized system. And I'm going to read the words here, and then we'll talk about phase one. Okay, so candidacy. We the people therefore establish the following structure for election of candidates to federal offices. The election system shall depend upon direct participation of individual citizens. The election system costs shall be borne by the central government of the United States. No fees or monetary charges of any kind shall burden either voters or candidates. Groups, coalitions, and political parties are strictly prohibited from participation in the process of nominating, selecting, electing, or confirming candidates for federal government offices. Information on candidates and votes for candidates shall be entered into a secure electronic format easily accessible for viewing by any citizen in any state of the United States. The electronic system structure and security protocols of the National Election System shall be approved prior to each election cycle by simple majority vote of the House of Congress, of both houses of Congress. The process for candidacy and election shall follow 4 phases. So again, just to summarize, that first part is there's this centralized system with high quality security that's routinely reviewed and improved upon by and approved by the both houses of Congress. Okay, so now it's an election year. So again, the president and the House of Representatives are getting elected every 3 years, and the Senate is getting elected every 6 years. So you have the president, and all the seats in the House of Representatives are getting elected every 3 years. The Senate, half the Senate is being elected in one election year, and then the other half is being elected in the next one. So the first phase, before the end of January, so this is an election year, like this year, 2020, is an election year. So imagine that this is, under this new amendment, an election year. So back in January of an election year, before the end of January of every election year, each state's congressional district shall randomly identify not less than 6 and not more than 10 citizens aged 25 years of age or older. The specific upper limit number of candidates in this range in any given year will be specified by a simple majority vote of the current membership of the House of Representatives. In other words, the current House of Representatives can increase the number up to 10 or reduce it depending on how things have been going and how well we've been finding good candidates for government. Okay, so this pool of candidates shall participate truthfully in individual surveys. The contents of said survey shall be specified and approved by a simple majority vote of the House of Representatives and will include, at a minimum, name including any alias names, current city and state address, birth date, education summary, work history summary for the prior 5 years, summary of all prior government service including military service, and a self-survey of attributes to include skill level and comfort level, speaking before large audiences, and individual willingness to serve in the various offices open in the next election cycle. Each candidate shall also be asked if they have either been convicted of a felony or believe they may have committed a potential felony offense in their lifetimes. So this is the first phase. So let's go over this. So what has happened? Well, there's this centralized depository, electronic depository, where information on a randomly selected group, okay, just like jury duty, there are people, U.S. citizens that are 25 years of age or older, would be randomly selected, and between 6 and 10 for each congressional district in throughout the country. And then those people there would be compelled, just like in jury duty, you're compelled to step forward, to if they say, well, you need to go to the courthouse on such and such date and be screened for potential service on a jury, you're compelled to do that. And if you don't, then you're held in contempt. And this would be the same thing for these citizens. They would be compelled, you'd be compelled, to step forward and provide information because that is your duty to this nation. Okay? And I've said before, and I never get the quote exactly perfect, but Thomas Paine said something like, those who wish to enjoy the benefits of freedom must also bear the fatigue of maintaining it. And so we, as citizens, so for example, I served in the military, and there's a small percentage of the nation, and we serve in the military. Why do we do that? We serve in the military because we want to extend and promote this thing that we have enjoyed. We feel strongly enough about it that we're willing to put on a uniform and potentially in some cases, many times go in harm's way. In my case, nuclear submarines back during the Cold War. Okay, and so you're compelled to do this. You're compelled to provide the minimum information, and you must provide it. All right, and so you basically put this information in, and you do that over this first month. So you start out in January, your name's put on this list, and then over the course of a couple months, you are compelled to put the information into this system and allow the rest of us to view it. Now, we can argue and better detail exactly what you see. Do you see any faces of the candidates, or do you leave all that like anonymous, so that people don't look and, wow, that's a handsome person, or she's a beautiful woman, I like her, any of that kind of stuff, or man versus woman, or there's a lot of things I wouldn't begin to know. At what point do you fully disclose everything about people? I would think that you'd want to leave some of it anonymous or unknown until some point in the election process, so that there's an added kind of this double-blind test. There's an added a level of integrity and lack of bias in this kind of, especially the early parts of the process. I would argue, maybe male and female would not be disclosed, and exact age would not be disclosed, and maybe no photograph, maybe a few other things. But anyway, so that's the first part of it. Okay, so there's this centralized system. Costs totally borne by the federal government. Wouldn't be much. It's going to be, $100 million a year. Nothing. It's nothing for our federal government to maintain this system. Okay, and then again, randomly selected, compelled to put the information in the system. Okay, and so I'm going to stop here. So this is I've just finished the second part of a multi-part series on the Citizen Statesman Amendment, and the next show is part 3. So until then, until the next show, I'm your host, Michael James Ott. This has been the Pro and Con Show, and bye for now.